So the power of habit. Um, kind of wanted to talk about this. That habit is something that's extremely powerful, and can be your best friend or your or kind of your worst enemy. Because as human beings, like a lot of how we operate is just purely on habit. As intelligent as you get, as wise or smart or experienced as you get, a lot of it still comes back to what's your daily routine, what are the day-to-day things that you do habitually, um, and are they helping you or are they hurting you? Um, if you have like a certain way of getting a result and you do it with a habit like that's you can have a negative process of getting there or a positive process of getting there, negative habit of getting there or positive habit of getting there. So a lot of this is from like the book the power of habit. And in that book they talk about how with habits there's like a three-step process. There's the cue, which is like the trigger basically, and then there's an action that you do, which is like the habit that you're repeating, and then there's a reward. There's something that you get that gives you a certain feeling, gives you dopamine at the end of completing the action. So and as I was saying, that there's like basically negative habits and positive habits. So let's say that, for example, you want to get money and you take two people, they both make money, but one of them, their habit is that they go to work, they work their 9 to 5, and then they get a paycheck biweekly. They get paid at the end of their work or something every couple weeks. And then the other person, let's say they steal for making money. Let's say they kind of they commit fraud or something, or they um, commit theft of some kind. They steal money, and that's how they get their money. So one person, they're let's say both people are getting the same return. They're getting money out of it, and they're getting the same reward. But there's a different habit that each of them are doing to get that reward. Um, Now, either of those people, they're not waking up in the morning and thinking, I'm going to do a good thing today or I'm going to do a bad thing today. Each of them is kind of working on autopilot, and they're just kind of thinking that, okay, I'm going to do my habit today. And what's my habit? Oh, it's to do this, steal to make money, or work to make money. And then they go and they do their habit. It's in autopilot. And my experience and just what I've seen with other people is that we inevitably will get into habits like this. Like, we can't not get into habits, and so much of what we do as human beings is in autopilot, is in the results of our habits, which are good or bad. And one of the main reasons we need other people in our life are because they can quickly tell us, like, pretty objectively, if you're doing a certain thing the right way or the wrong way, if you're um, if your habits are helping you or if they're hurting you, if they're negative habits or positive habits. They can tell you which habits are forming in the first place, because we kind of objectively can't take a look at ourselves and say that or see that. And it's difficult, but yeah, that's why you need other people, really need other people, because they'll give you feedback and they'll criticize you and they'll tell you what's wrong, and what you're doing habitually that might not be helping you or that might be hurting you. Um, so and that's needed, because otherwise you get into these habits of doing things a certain way that aren't productive, that aren't conducive to a better quality of life, or that aren't helping you towards your goals, or actually hurting you. And you wouldn't realize it because you're getting the return, you're still getting the end result, but maybe the habits aren't hurting you. This is how businesses fail a lot of the time. They have habits that they have patterns of doing things like a certain way that would get them X results. They would get revenue that way, and it was successful in the past. But inevitably in business, you have to continue to shift, and you have to adapt and grow and change in certain ways. And if they didn't change, then those habits at that point would be negative and kind of holding them back. But then they'd still repeat them and still sort of see like a result, like they're still making money and they're still kind of getting the end result, and it looks like their numbers are going up. But in fact, maybe that's not the habit that they should continue to implement. And a lot of the time, the habit that you're doing, even though it gets you the result that you're trying to get to that reward, maybe there's a different habit that gets it to you in a better way, or it gets it to you in a more efficient way, a more effective way, a healthier way, the quote unquote right way, or a better way. And that's like in business, they say, as you have like a machine and you want to continue to improve the machine that makes the machine, you want to continue to iterate and to rethink and reimagine and continue to redesign the processes that you have for getting a certain result. Same in lifting and powerlifting. You have a certain training program and a certain way of getting stronger, but inevitably what you've done in past training programs will be unwise and lacking in abilities compared to what you've done in future training programs. So it's not your numbers that are just going up, and your strength in the lifts that you're hitting the numbers isn't just going up, but it's like your process that's improving too. You learn to clean up your diet, you learn to um, kind of go to bed on time, you learn to tweak your form in certain ways, and you learn to program better. Whatever we do and whatever goals we're working towards, our process continues to refine and get better, and it should. And a lot of that is kind of the product of habit. And I think just at any time we can be involved in good habits or bad habits, and they can be deadly. Like if they're bad, they can be really helpful if they're good. But it's really hard to break habit, or to get out of it, or to begin it too. And sometimes it can be done gradually, but it's important to kind of identify and then begin at it, even if it's little by little, by very little, whether that's to try and start the new habit or to get rid of the old bad habit. And I just think that a lot of success is kind of built on that. So the book on that topic is called The Power of Habit. I've heard like a lot of successful people from many different like fields and many different walks of life all recommend that book, and I've read over it and have read through it a few times, and I highly recommend it too. Um, because habits are kind of everything, and good habits can really help and bad habits can really, really hurt. So I think it's just kind of worth like learning about.